APC to Governor Godwin Obaseki declare a state of emergency for Edo. Chairman of All Progressive Congress APC, David Imuse, don hold press conference to ask President Muhammadu Buhari to declare state of emergency for Edo State sake of the failure of the government. APC Chemo say since Obaseki enter office for second term, say Edo State no be democracy again. Say na dictatorship as legislature, executive and judiciary no con get any power. Say almost 1 year, Obaseki no gree conduct elections for chairmen and councillors.
We ask you to be with us today because you are all witnesses to the collapse of governance in our state. 1 year after the PDP-led government of Mr. Godwin Obaseki assumed office for a second term of 4 years, Edo State today is not a democracy. What we have in Benin City is a dictatorship with Mr. Godwin Obaseki as the government. He has emasculated the judiciary, crippled the legislature, and personalized the executive branch. He is the sole administrator of Edo State. His word is law. He is the lawmaker, the judge, and the prison put together. Mr. Obaseki's flagrant abuse of power is not provided for anywhere in the 1999 Constitution as amended. Meanwhile, this constitution, which our country, Nigeria, is still operating, remains the ground norm. So we wonder where Mr. Obaseki is deriving his powers from, as there is no section in the constitution either for a Muslim ruler or sole administrator as we presently have in Edo. For almost 1 year, local government administration in Edo State has been thrown into a coma, with the governor's decision not to conduct elections for chairmen and councillors. For a governor who daily interferes with the state's local government council statutory allocation, is it not self-indictment to say that unless he's able to clear the 60 billion debt they owe, he cannot conduct local government elections? Gentlemen of the press, Edo is the only state in Nigeria today without a functional legislature. It is in the light of the precarious situation Edo State has found itself under Governor Obaseki, which is almost akin to anarchy, that the All Progressive Congress, APC, is calling on the federal government to declare state of emergency in Edo. Our call is predicated on the fact that Mr. Obaseki would rather prefer to be a sole administrator of Edo State rather than a democratically elected governor.
Dem still shook mouth on top say Obaseki no fit secure lives and property for Edo people. Him dey borrow money anyhow. Say him no get respect for rule of law.
He has perfected the art of taking clandestine loans from every available source without any plan to repay them and thereby mortgaging the future of Edo State. So soon after he took the 25 billion loan recently to finance the 2021 budget from the capital market, he went for another 18 billion loan from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The state's indebtedness has just elevated it to the second most indebted state in the country. Edo State government, under Mr. Obaseki, now specializes in giving vague and nebulous rationale when taking these loans. Yet, there are critical sectors of the local economy into which these loans ought to be channeled. That Edo people are tired of many white elephant projects which Mr. Obaseki has adopted as a conduit pipe to drain public funds is a cause for concern. Without a legislature, Edo people are in dark about what are the loans being collected for. There is no due process, and unborn Edo children are assured of spending eternity repaying these loans. The rule of law. Edo State has a governor who does not have an iota of respect for the judicial arm of government, although he regularly runs to court on the most frivolous excuses. He chooses which order to obey and disregard the rest, even when they are in the overall interest of Edo people. Mr. Obaseki paid deaf ears to several court orders, restoring elected local government councils who he violently removed from their offices.
Dem still say na so MOU in the sign, wey bring about the building of Benin Motor Park and Gelegele Seaport, wey don be abandoned projects. Dem still talk about roads, Benin Technical College and Edo Best program, wey be cover-up of the government failures.
Here is a governor who stuck in trade 5 years in office is either signing or entry into MOUs. partnership and agreement with individuals and organizations, foreign and local. It is a government of MOU, by MOU and for MOU. For a man leaving office in 3 years, Mr. Obaseki recently proposed a 30-year development plan for the state. Yet, by 2050, many would have forgotten if he ever was the governor in Benin City. His MOU yielded the stillborn industrial park that he brought the vice president of this country, Mr. Yemi Osinbajo, to commission 5 years ago. With a spurious claim of securing a $200 million investment for the park, today it is a haven of wild animals. The only sign of the park is the giant dilapidating billboard announcing the governor's short-sightedness. There is no single industrial location, and there is no sign that any will come soon to this calm of a multi-billion naira monument by the Obaseki-led PDP government. What of the Gelegele port? The hue and cry and the media hype that greeted the MOU the governor entered into with the Chinese, Singaporean, and Indian interests on TV and social media, and his resort to frequent monitoring of virtual vessels coming to berth at the non-existent port has since died down. Need I mention that the Ekenwan Road, which the governor said he was dualizing because of the expected boost in vehicular traffic from the seaport to the city center, has in itself become an abandoned project. The Benin Technical College cost Edo taxpayer billions of naira to renovate. It's only the governor who knows when the college will be ready to take the first batch of students. Or is it the governor's Edo Best program, which is at best a small screen to cover out the failure of the government's education policy? There are no teachers in public schools across the state. There is no school with full complement of teachers. At best, you see a principal and 2 teachers for a school of 200 pupils. Yet, Mr. Obaseki boasts about spending billions by the grace of World Bank to give mobile devices to teachers to teach. Many communities employ teachers all over the state.
Say the library where we get Obaseki want demolition to build supermarkets. Workers not dey civil service, but him say in they pay salaries. Major roads don't spoil, and yet in they present budgets wey no make sense.
Gentlemen of the press, the only public library in Edo State where children of ordinary Edo men and women go to read to develop themselves has been demolished, and the land sold to Obaseki's cronies to build a supermarket. There are no workers in Edo State civil service, yet the governor makes monthly mountain of paying salaries as and when due. It is disappointing that rather than employing qualified personnel to fill the thousands of vacant spaces in the public service, including the health sector and the many public schools across the state, the governor, whose hallmark is the misplacement of priorities, choose to completely waste those people's resources in the name of harmonizing his destabilized party, the PDP, by giving meaningless appointments to political jobbers, sycophants, and opportunists. Major roads in Benin City, the Edo State capital, are in different states of ferment, dilapidation, and are forsaken by Mr. Obaseki, who annually and fictitiously budget billions to build roads and bridges or control floods and erosions. This explains our query of the 2022 budget, which on a closer look is completely unrealistic, as it is duplicitously embellished with impractical predications. The budget proposal actually shows how Godwin Obaseki wastes Edo State fund on frivolities. Commuters and motorists daily groan from damage done to their vehicles from these bad roads. A state government that can barely patch an earth road cannot be expected to fix a state, not to talk of federal roads crisscrossing its territories. Mr. Obaseki once threatened to probe the Benin Waterstone project. The governor, while inspecting the textile mirror carpentry project in Benin City, said the project was designed to work for the benefit of the Edo people, adding that his administration will probe the project and recover all the stolen funds through it. Yet, the secretary to the state government, Barrister Sayode, who was in charge of the work ministry, was deeply involved in the project. And while the project was ongoing, Mr. Obaseki, as the then chairman of the economic team, played the key role of sourcing the first 25 billion from the capital market through his company, AfriInvest. AfriInvest pocketed a huge amount of money as commission from the deal. The APC asked him to start the probe, but he caved in. Mr. Obaseki recently claimed that he spent the last 5 years as state governor laying the foundation for development of Edo State. But as a party, we have looked everywhere and we cannot find any of such foundation stones. All claims of a vibrant sector-led economy, which has benefited from wide-ranging government reforms and programs, informed by insights, learning, and intelligence, garnered from this sustained and evolving exchange with the private sector by Mr. Obaseki, are all scams. Gentlemen of the press, it should be noted that the state of emergency in Edo will have a multiplier effect on the various apparatus of government in such sectors like civil service, health, education, and security of lives and property, among several others, which are presently in their need of leveling. We in the APC also believe that the state of emergency in Edo will be a proactive step to flatten the curve of bad governance the state is now suffering.
From Benin, Osarugwe Monday for TMC News.